The lights of downtown Los Angeles shimmered against the inky sky as a private ambulance tore through deserted streets. Inside, medical personnel scrambled around a pale, pregnant young woman. She was barely conscious, clinging to life as she begged to save her child. In the corner of the ambulance, a tall man in an immaculate designer suit, his face hardened by cruelty, glared at her. This was Ethan Quinn, the newly appointed CEO of Quinn Global, feared by rivals across California. He barked quick orders to the paramedic, ignoring the woman's pleas. Beneath the hum of sirens, Mandy, a Chinese-born woman who had recently moved to Los Angeles, fought for every breath. Her pregnancy had turned dangerous. She was losing too much blood, yet she clutched her belly desperately. At that moment, Ethan Quinn, cold and unreadable, made a life-or-death declaration that would haunt him for years to come. The ambulance screeched to a halt at Westwood Memorial Hospital. Orderlies sprinted out, whisking Mandy onto a gurney. Inside the operating room, a senior surgeon peered nervously at the new CEO. Surgeon, quietly, to Ethan.
Mr. Quinn, the hemorrhaging is severe. What we must choose, saving the mother or...
Ethan snaps.
Choose the child.
Mandy stared, numb with terror. She had once trusted this man. Now his words shattered her heart. She tried to speak, but the drugs and pain locked her voice inside her mind. With one last surge of will, she silently vowed he would pay for this. Several floors away, in a secluded waiting room, a cunning figure wearing a smirk paced near the window. This was Sharon Qiao, Mandy's half-sister, who had also settled in California. Entitled and vain, Sharon believed Ethan Quinn rightfully belonged with her. She gave a triumphant toss of her hair as she pictured Mandy's downfall. Sharon Qiao had always despised Mandy. She saw Mandy as just another stumbling block in her quest for power and recognition within the wealthy circles of Los Angeles. Now, with Mandy clinging to life, Sharon scented victory. Inside the operating room, the medical staff wrestled with dire circumstances. The baby was in distress, but Mandy's heart rate was dangerously low. The overhead lights flickered, reflecting the gravity of the choice that had to be made. Surgeon, urgent whisper.
Mr. Quinn, we're losing her.
Ethan's jaw tightened. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his usually stoic face. Ethan, low to himself.
She'll hate me for this.
In a final swirl of chaos, the monitors beeped wildly. Someone shouted for more blood. Another doctor yelled to begin an emergency C-section. Then, silence. Moments later, a single cry resounded. A tiny newborn's. The medical team sagged in relief, but Mandy's pulse vanished from the monitor. That night, Los Angeles witnessed a birth shadowed by tragedy. It was the night Mandy Qiao's world collapsed, the night she disappeared from Ethan Quinn's life. And though doctors declared her likely gone, the city would soon realize fate is rarely so simple. On the outskirts of L.A., perched on a hill with a sweeping view of the city, stood the Grand Quinn estate. Wealth dripped from every marble corridor, yet behind those polished doors chaos erupted when word spread that Mandy's body could not be found. Ethan, harsh whisper to his head of security.
How do you lose a patient's body? The hospital staff just fled?
Security chief rushed.
Mr. Quinn, the head surgeon vanished too. All we found is a single infant in the NICU, barely alive.
Ethan had demanded the child be saved at all costs. An entire team rushed to follow his terse orders. The doctors who remained behind did their best, but the newborn's health teetered on a knife's edge. Elsewhere, across the city, a private helicopter landed at LAX. Striding down the tarmac came a woman known as Dr. Jocelyn, an enigmatic medical genius who had lived in Beijing, studied in Boston, then hopped from one world-class facility to another. Rumor was she never treated members of the Quinn family. Word had reached certain circles that Ethan Quinn intended to track down Dr. Jocelyn, no matter the cost. His reasons remained veiled. But behind his unstoppable power, a secret endured. Ethan suffered from vicious headaches, a condition that worsened by the month. And Dr. Jocelyn, with her rumored cures, might be the only chance he had. A crisp morning sun rose over Los Angeles, illuminating the palm-lined boulevards. A plane touched down at LAX, and among the crowd of arrivals stood a petite yet confident woman with dark hair and a poised demeanor. It was Mandy Quayao, 5 years older, 5 years tougher, returning with secrets of her own. By her side was a bright-eyed boy named Kai Quayao, who bobbed eagerly on his tiptoes, taking in the bustle of LAX. Mandy gripped his small hand, scanning the terminal for her friend and assistant, Samantha Shan Liu, a fellow Chinese immigrant who had also made a life in America.
Mommy, everything here feels so familiar, but so different too.
Mandy nodded absently. She had a singular purpose for coming back, to find her mother, Lucia Lin, who had mysteriously vanished years ago. The only clue she clung to was a cryptic note indicating her mother had last been spotted in L.A. under suspicious circumstances tied to Quinn Global. Before Mandy could say anything else, Shan dashed up, breathless from weaving through the airport throngs, Shan catching her breath.
Mandy, welcome back. This is going to be a wild ride. There's news that Quinn Global is stepping up security. Rumor has it Ethan Quinn's father is behind something big.
They had no idea how quickly trouble would find them. Even here in the airport, they could sense the presence of dark-suited agents scanning the arrivals. A tip had been received that Dr. Jocelyn, long sought by the Quinns, might be among the passengers. Mandy's personal ties to the legendary Jocelyn, plus her own hidden medical knowledge, put her directly in harm's way. Suddenly, men in black suits rushed forward. They grabbed Shan and began barking questions about Dr. Jocelyn, demanding she be handed over. Mandy's fists clenched at the memory of how merciless the Quinn family could be. She could not let her friend be taken. Mandy, tense to the men,
Let her go. I'll come quietly. I'm the one who knows Jocelyn's whereabouts.
With that, the suits hauled Mandy into a black SUV. Her son, Kai, managed to slip away, ducking behind a row of baggage carts. He watched, tears pricking his eyes as his mother was taken. Mandy found herself inside a Quinn-owned penthouse, complete with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Los Angeles' shimmering skyline. A lean, commanding presence strode in. Ethan Quinn. 5 years had sharpened his features, yet a shadow lingered beneath his eyes, an intensity fueled by an unrelenting headache. He stared at Mandy, struggling to recall the woman who had once been declared dead. She looked so different now, stronger, more resolute.
I'm told you have ties to Dr. Jocelyn. You turned down a request from me, personally. Do you realize how serious that is?
Mandy's face tightened in defiance. She had no intention of providing any free favors. If anything, she needed answers about her lost mother, about the child she'd nearly died for, and about Ethan's father, rumored to be behind even darker deeds.
If Dr. Jocelyn made a rule never to treat anyone from the Quinn family, then maybe the Quinn family should respect it.
Anger flashed in Ethan's eyes, but he forced it down. His father's health was deteriorating. The entire Quinn empire, built on decades of cutthroat deals, depended on a cure that only Jocelyn's techniques could provide. And so, in a single evening, fate pulled them together again. 5 years of secrets pressed close, threatening to burst out. But in the hush of that penthouse, their immediate standoff left no room for reminiscing, or the truth about the child Ethan believed dead. Somewhere else in the city that night, Kai Chiao huddled anxiously with Samantha Shan in a modest motel room. He missed his mother dearly. Yet even as a young boy, he had surprising courage. Kai, softly to Shan.
Auntie Shan, I won't let these bullies hurt my mum. We'll find her.
Shan nodded, admiration sparking in her eyes.
We will, Kai. Don't worry. I have a friend who can help.
Kai's gaze landed on a small photo in his jacket pocket, a snapshot of Mandy from a happier time. A quiet determination fueled him. For all he knew, the father he had never met might be the dreaded Ethan Quinn himself. But no matter who stood in the way, Kai planned to reunite his family. Little did Kai realize just how entangled his own identity was with the Quinn bloodline and how many dangerous secrets lay behind the closed doors of Quinn Global. In the days that followed, Mandy managed to negotiate a tense truce with Ethan. She struck a deal to keep her friend Sean and her son Kai safe, while she pretended to cooperate on a mysterious new medical project. Unknown to Ethan, Mandy's deeper motive was to uncover the truth about her mother's disappearance, a lead that seemed dangerously linked to Ethan's father. The stage was set for a massive struggle. Ethan Quinn, dogged by an unspeakable headache and haunted by the memory of losing Mandy years ago, found himself strangely protective of the very woman he once wronged. Mandy Chow, driven by the need to rescue her mother, crept ever closer to revelations that could rock the mighty Quinn Empire. Meanwhile, the city of Los Angeles carried on, unaware that behind the glamour of charity galas and NFL showdowns at SoFi Stadium, a vicious war of secrets, betrayal, and unexpected love was quietly unfolding. As the sun dropped below the horizon one evening, painting the sky with peach and gold, Mandy caught a fleeting glimpse of Ethan on the rooftop of Quinn Tower. He stood with his back turned, one hand pressed to his temple as if fighting another wave of pain. Strangely, her heart clenched at the sight.
Is he truly the monster I believed him to be? Or is there more to his story, more to our story than I realized?
She thought of the missing pages from her mother's medical journals, pages that might detail groundbreaking cures or horrifying experiments. She thought of her child's rightful father, still unknown to the boy. And so ended the first chapter of an unlikely reunion. Mandy Chiao had returned to Los Angeles, determined to unveil the truth. Ethan Quinn, powerful, tormented, stood in her path. Two children, separated at birth, or so it seemed, circled ever closer to discovering their bond. The city's lights sparkled on, oblivious to the heartbreak and hope about to collide. Dawn broke over the sprawling metropolis of Los Angeles, chasing away the final traces of night. Under the blush of early sunlight, the conflicting worlds of Mandy Chow and Ethan Quinn began to collide more violently than ever. A week had passed since Mandy's sudden reappearance and the tense deal she forged with Ethan. From the outside, Quinn Global's downtown tower looked every bit a thriving hub of international business. But in the hallways behind heavily tinted windows, hushes and hurried whispers betrayed a storm of uncertainty. Associates wondered why the notoriously impenetrable Ethan Quinn had allowed a once-vanished woman into his sphere. Meanwhile, rumors swirled of private labs, concealed medical trials, and a shadowy patriarch whose name was rarely spoken aloud, Graham Quinn, Ethan's father. No one, however, was more on edge than Mandy herself. In the early hours, Mandy rose from a restless sleep inside a rented condominium in Beverly Hills. She gazed at the rows of tall palm trees just beyond the balcony. Their swaying fronds reminded her of a childhood spent half in China, half in the States, and the mother who had always stood at her side, Lucia Lin, the brilliant medical researcher who vanished under ominous circumstances. Mandy had chased every lead she could, old colleagues of her mother in Boston, acquaintances from Lucia's brief tenure at a biotech firm in San Francisco, and even ex-employees from Quinn Global's research division in LA. Each clue inevitably led back to one name, Graham Quinn. The same day, across town at the luxurious Quinn estate, Ethan was abruptly summoned to a restricted suite at the rear of the mansion. Beyond a pair of tall carved doors, he found his father propped against pillows, eyes glaring with something akin to desperation. Even in frailty, Graham Quinn's aura commanded fear. He had built the Quinn empire across real estate, pharmaceuticals, and entertainment, often with methods that straddled legal boundaries. For years he had reigned like a king. Now illness turned him restless, suspicious, and quietly furious. That morning, Graham demanded results regarding his personal cure, an experimental concoction rumored to relieve his agonizing migraines and stabilize a deeper, more dangerous disorder. He also hinted in clipped words that Ethan must curtail Mandy's interference at once. Tension crackled through the corridors of power. Ethan recognized the silent threat. If Mandy discovered too much about her mother's fate, or about the Quinn family's clandestine trials, Graham would take matters into his own hands. At the same time, Mandy pressed forward with her own mission, spurred by two children she cared about more than life itself. One was her beloved son, Kai, the little boy she had raised alone these past 5 years. The other, astonishingly, was Xander, a boy who looked so uncannily like Kai that no one doubted they were brothers. Though each child lived under the same California sky, they had only recently met, and the Quinn family believed each child's existence a carefully guarded secret. For Mandy, there was no turning back. She soon found herself in the Quinn Global Pharmaceuticals Division, a glass-encased facility rumored to have the city's most advanced research labs. Under the guise of an intern researcher, Mandy gained limited access to digital archives and chemical trial results. She recognized her mother's old manuscripts, hauntingly familiar, scattered across system folders identified only by code names. Late nights turned into early mornings as Mandy sifted through inconspicuous footnotes, hunting for her mother's signature data. Lines of code and intricate formulas blurred together, piece by piece, hinting at something monstrous. That patients had been used like disposable test subjects, and that Lucia Lynn may have paid a steep price for opposing such inhumane practices. Even as Mandy discovered these chilling details, her heart pounded at the thought of confronting Ethan. For all his ruthless veneer, flashes of regret and tenderness now flickered whenever their eyes locked. She remembered nights from years ago, half-buried memories, a gentle hand on her shoulder, a voice whispering reassurance in the dark. Could Ethan Quinn truly be that man? Or had desperation warped her recollections? While Mandy raced to unravel the lab's secrets, Ethan endured the relentless ache in his skull. Doctors came and went, prescribing new regimes that failed to ease his pain. On one particular afternoon, as Los Angeles baked under a scorching sun, Ethan staggered into an unmarked clinic, dark glasses hiding the throbbing behind his eyes. An older physician performed a discreet exam, then cautioned that further stress could bring irreversible damage. Ethan needed specialized treatment, something only a rare medical expert could provide. The physician even muttered rumors that the legendary Dr. Jocelyn might be the last hope. Ethan nearly laughed. Unbeknownst to this well-meaning doctor, Dr. Jocelyn was rumored to have been trained by none other than Lucia Lynn, and Lucia's own daughter, Mandy, had recently re-emerged in his life, the cosmic threads tangled ever tighter. Pushing aside frustration, Ethan returned to Quinn Tower. Board members awaited him. Stocks were surging on expectations that Graham Quinn's health would soon be restored, meaning unstoppable expansions into new markets. If only they knew the entire empire was perched on a precarious ledge. Yet a sliver of Ethan's mind strayed to Mandy, wondering if she was safe. If she had uncovered how menacing Graham Quinn could be. He was torn between loyalty to the father who had shaped him, albeit through harsh means, and a fierce urge to shield Mandy from the fate that befell her mother. From the moment Mandy set foot in the pharmaceutical labs, eyes followed her. Graham Quinn's private security, quiet men in black suits, hovered in the background, reporting her every move. They seemed to anticipate that, sooner or later, Mandy would come dangerously close to their most classified projects. One evening, long after official working hours, Mandy found herself alone in a research wing bathed in sterile white light. She stifled nerves as she flicked through a stack of hard-copy notes, scanning for her mother's distinct handwriting. Each line of data evoked her mother's gentle lessons from childhood, the half-finished lullabies in Mandarin that once comforted her. Suddenly, a presence behind her. Mandy turned to see a security officer looming in the doorway. The man asked no questions. Instead, he escorted her toward an executive floor, into a small, windowless conference room. There sat Graham Quinn himself. In that cramped, soundproofed space, Mandy's eyes locked with the patriarch's. She could see the remains of a once commanding figure, thinning hair, lined face, and an expression that smoldered with cunning. Though no direct words were exchanged regarding her mother, Mandy realized this was a silent warning. She was too close. Graham Quinn all but drummed his fingers on the table, a venomous promise behind his half-smile. She guessed that he was quietly, ruthlessly testing her. Any slip-up, and he would make her disappear, just as Lucia Lynn had. Even as her chest tightened with fear, Mandy held her composure. She volunteered to work late hours on a special formula rumored to help ease chronic headaches. It was a ruse to buy time and glean as much intel as possible on her mother's last known whereabouts. Word soon reached Ethan that Mandy was dabbling in the most secret corners of Quinn research. Anger and panic clashed in him. He suspected Graham had cornered her. Late that night, Ethan found Mandy stepping into the staff parking garage. A single flickering overhead light illuminated her determined features. The hush of her footfalls echoed in the concrete gloom. They exchanged only a few clipped phrases, but the undercurrent, unspoken, spoke volumes. Ethan's stony expression said, "You need to back off." Mandy's resolute eyes said, "I have no choice." As days stretched into nights, the pressure built. Subtle sabotage plagued Mandy's lab station, mislabeled bottles, corrupted data on her computer, technical glitches that threatened to undo her progress. She suspected it was a tactic designed to keep her from completing any real cures and to trap her into compliance. At the same time, Ethan's father, Graham, grew more and more unpredictable. Spies reported that he was furious about an intern meddling in affairs best left hidden. Worse, the entire Quinn global image was at stake. He loathed any sign of scandal. If necessary, he would destroy Mandy Chiao. Then there was Kai, the child Mandy sheltered fiercely. Whenever she picked him up from school, she'd sense tinted SUVs in the distance. She tried to maintain their routines, from grabbing after-school snacks at an old Chinese bakery in Chinatown to tucking him in with a bedtime story. Yet each day, her dread for their safety grew. Simultaneously, on the other side of the city, little Xander, Ethan's son, lived under tight security at the Quinn estate, unknowingly linked by blood to Kai. Xander had begun to remember fleeting moments of a mom from his earliest memories, memories that contradicted everything Ethan had told him. And so, the boy's curiosity blossomed. Who was his real mother, and why did the estate staff look so uneasy? Whenever he asked. The final trigger arrived under the neon lights of a charity gala, hosted at a sprawling West Hollywood mansion. High-profile guests in glimmering attire roamed the courtyard, discussing everything from Los Angeles property taxes to the latest NFL season. Under a star-strewn sky, Ethan Quinn was cornered by philanthropic socialites, each eager to please the Quinn name. He managed a polite facade, but inside his headache roared. Pain etched his features. He slipped away from the throng, retreating to a secluded veranda to steady his breathing. There, unexpectedly, he spotted Mandy. She was lingering in the shadows, looking elegant yet tense, scanning the crowd. Mandy was waiting for a source who promised key documents linking Lucia Lynn's disappearance to Graham Quinn's clandestine medical programs. The plan was simple: retrieve them in secret, escape undetected. But fate had other designs. As she watched, men in dark suits, Graham's private security, emerged from multiple corners of the party. The trap was set. Ethan, noticing the men's purposeful movements, realized Mandy was in imminent danger. His father's final warning flashed in his mind: she will either submit or vanish. Within seconds, the hush shattered. Mandy's contact never arrived, but the suits closed in. She tried to slip through the side entrance, but two imposing figures blocked the path. Panic coursed through her. If she were detained, any chance of finding her mother vanished. Worse still, what would become of Kai? Suddenly, Ethan appeared. With only a glance, he seemed to convey that no one, not even his father, would touch Mandy without going through him first. The men hesitated. They feared Ethan almost as much as they revered Graham. In that moment, Los Angeles's swirling society function receded behind them, replaced by a silent, high-stakes confrontation. Mandy met Ethan's gaze, time elongated, as if the entire city held its breath. She recalled the bitter memory of him choosing to save the baby over her life 5 years ago, the heartbreak of waking up alone. And yet, she also saw torment in his eyes, the faint glimmer of regret or longing. Would he protect her this time, or would he remain the man she once believed capable of anything cruel for the sake of Quinn Global? The suits tightened their circle. A hush fell over the gala crowd, who sensed a conflict but understood none of it. Lights from the palm-fringed courtyard glittered on the tensely drawn faces. Somewhere in that stillness, Mandy realized she might be gazing at the father of both her children, and the only man powerful enough to stop Graham Quinn. Would Ethan choose to do so, or was he yet another trap? Then, with heart-pounding finality, Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between Mandy and the suits. Thus, the door to confrontation yawned open. Mandy's quest for the truth behind her mother's vanishing act brushed against Ethan's fight to keep the Quinn Empire stable, and, possibly, to redeem himself for the hellish ordeal 5 years prior. Neither realized how soon they would face the darkest corners of Quinn power, nor how dangerously close they all were to a tragic finale. Sparks of confrontation exploded among the watchers. Board members, guests, security, and rumor-hungry socialites. Over it all hung the faint echo of a question that refused to fade. What truly happened the night Mandy nearly died, and what monstrous secrets does Graham Quinn guard? There, in the hush of a charity gala under LA stars, the stage was set for everything to unravel. Mandy Chow and Ethan Quinn had run out of time. The moment of truth was upon them. The tension is at a fever pitch. Will Mandy discover her mother's fate in time? Can Ethan truly defy his father's ruthless empire? And what role will their 2 children, separated by 5 years of deceit, play when the final revelations unfold? The bustling streets of Los Angeles shimmered under the midday sun, but within the walls of Quinn Tower, darkness brewed. Mandy Chow stood at the precipice of truth, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. The grand lobby, usually a symbol of wealth and power, now felt like a cage closing in around her. Mandy had meticulously gathered evidence over the past weeks, piecing together the fragments of her mother's disappearance and the sinister operations hidden within Quinn Global. Every late night, every stolen moment of research had led her closer to the heart of the corporation's darkest secrets. And now, with her son Kai and Xander unknowingly entwined in the Quinn family's web, the stakes had never been higher. Meanwhile, Ethan Quinn wrestled with his own demons. His father's deteriorating health and the relentless headaches had pushed him to the brink. But deep within, a spark of empathy for Mandy had begun to flicker, challenging the cold exterior he had long maintained. Ethan's dual role as CEO and reluctant protector of his sons had left him torn between duty and conscience. As Mandy approached the executive suite, the door swung open to reveal Graham Quinn, Ethan's father. His presence was imposing, his eyes sharp with calculated malice. He had built an empire on ruthless ambition, and now his empire teetered on the edge of scandal and ruin.
Mandy Chow, you've been quite the thorn in my side, but every problem has a solution. Let's see how much more you can complicate things.
Mandy stood her ground, clutching the dossier of evidence she had painstakingly assembled. She knew confronting Graham would not be easy, but the truth demanded justice. For her mother, for her children, and for herself.
Your reign of manipulation ends now, Graham. I have proof of your unethical experiments and the disappearance of Lucia Lynn. The world deserves to know the truth.
A tense silence filled the room as Graham scrutinized the documents. His facade of control began to waver as the magnitude of Mandy's revelations sank in. Ethan, observing from the sidelines, felt a surge of conflict. His father's actions were unforgivable, yet confronting them meant dismantling the very foundation of Quinn Global, a legacy he had fought to preserve. The confrontation reached its zenith when Mandy activated the hidden cameras she had installed, broadcasting Graham's confession to the entire board and the public. The room erupted in chaos as executives scrambled to distance themselves from the tainted empire. Graham's grip on power unraveled in an instant, his carefully constructed image shattered. Ethan stepped forward, his eyes meeting Mandy's with a newfound understanding. The past 5 years had changed him, instilling a sense of justice and protection he had long denied. He approached his father, the tension between them palpable.
Father, it's over. The truth is out, and there's nothing you can do to hide it anymore.
Graham Quinn's facade finally crumbled, revealing the desperation beneath. With his empire crumbling and his health failing, he realized his time was up. But before he could retaliate, emergency services and law enforcement stormed the building, apprehending him and securing the corporation's illicit activities. In the aftermath, Quinn Global underwent a complete overhaul. The unethical experiments were halted, and the missing were accounted for. Mandy's relentless pursuit of the truth had not only avenged her mother, but also dismantled a corrupt empire. The city of Los Angeles breathed a collective sigh of relief, unaware of the intricate battles fought behind its glittering facade. Yet, amidst the victory, personal revelations awaited. Ethan and Mandy stood side by side, their shared history and newfound alliance forging an unbreakable bond. The two children, Kai and Xander, who had unknowingly mirrored each other's existence, found solace in their mother's embrace and the protective presence of their newfound father. As the dust settled, Mandy finally found peace. Her mother's legacy lived on through the exposed truths and the lives she had saved. Ethan, freed from his father's shadow, embraced a new path, one defined by integrity and compassion. Together, they navigated the complexities of their intertwined lives, building a future free from the chains of the past. In a quiet moment overlooking the sprawling city from Quinn Tower's rooftop, Mandy and Ethan shared a silent understanding. The journey had been arduous, marked by loss and betrayal, but it had also been a testament to resilience and redemption. Mandy Kiao, softly, to Ethan.
Thank you for standing by me.
Ethan Quinn, sincerely.
Thank you for showing me the truth.
And so, under the vast expanse of the Los Angeles sky, two lives once torn apart by circumstance and cruelty found unity and hope. The city continued its endless dance of dreams and destinies, unaware that within its heart a family had been reborn from the ashes of secrets and shadows. In the City of Angels, amidst the glamour and the grit, Mandy Chow and Ethan Quinn discovered that even in the darkest times, the light of truth and love could illuminate the path forward. Their story, a blend of pain, perseverance, and ultimately redemption, would echo through the corridors of Quinn Tower and beyond, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. If you enjoyed this story, there's another video on screen right now. Go ahead and give it a look for an even more astonishing tale. And don't forget, we'll have many more uplifting and dramatic stories coming your way, so make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way, you'll never miss our newest uploads.